Hi guys, this is Doug Aldrich with the Dead Daisies, and you're listening to Sonic Perspectives.
Hello again, readers and listeners of Sonic Perspectives. It's Rodrigo here with another interview, and this time we're going to talk to someone who's a familiar face on our website, Doug Aldrich of the Dead Daisies. Doug, it's great to talk to you again.
Hey Rodrigo, nice to talk to you too, man. How are you?
Very good, very good. We're going to talk about a lot of subjects and cover as much ground as possible. But let me start with the announcement made yesterday. Your old partner in crime, Glenn Hughes, is joining the Dead Daisies.
Yes. Yes, we're very excited about it. Of course, I'm very excited about that. I'm very sorry to see Marco and John step away for a minute, but with the Dead Daisies, it's a family, it's a collective. That's something that's different about the Dead Daisies, and so people are kind of coming and going, and so I'm sorry to see them go, but I'm very excited about Glenn coming, and he's a legend, and he's always been one of my favorite singers and bass players.
Absolutely, same here. And you have a new song out already with Glenn on vocals called "Righteous Days," and it definitely carries the Daisies DNA, right?
It's a good collaboration. I mean, of course, it's going to sound like Glenn because it's Glenn singing, and but I think we wanted to find some music that was kind of had the vein of the Dead Daisies, the way that David Lowie started it, and so we're continuing that thread, but adding in Glenn into the mix, and I think I thought it was a really good choice.
It was indeed. And is the song available already for purchase anywhere? And are there more songs in that session or not yet?
I don't think so. I think it's only online as a teaser, and then I think it might disappear after that. Okay. I'm not for sure, but from what I understand, it's going to be on the album probably, and we'll probably do an updated version of it. But this is kind of like a teaser.
Okay. Well, the last time we spoke, it was in March, and I mentioned how sad I was that you and Glenn didn't put an album together when you were playing together. And now my wish is finally coming through because it's going to happen, right?
Well, it looks that way, yeah. I'm super excited about that. And, a lot of people had asked about if Glenn and I were going to work together, but at that time, Glenn was really he was just gearing up to get into the Hall of Fame, and he was gearing up to do the Glenn Hughes plays Deep Purple, which was so successful, and it was an amazing show. So at that point, he made a solo record, but I was in the Daisies at the time, and he was happy with Soren, I think. Anyways, so everything worked out how it's supposed to. He went and did the album, then he went on tour and did the Glenn Hughes Deep Purple show. And I think he did that for about a year and a half. So it's a good time to, like how Joe Bonamassa keeps things fresh. That's what Glenn's going to do, I think. Keep it fresh. Yeah. Come do a record with the Daisies. We'll tour a lot to support it. And, it might actually be a flavor of a mix between Black Country Communion, Dead Daisies, and Glenn Hughes' solo efforts.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. And in the meantime, you have a covers album that was just released entitled Locked and Loaded. Tell us about the choice of songs for the album.
Well, that's a lot of the songs that we've done covers of. I think there's a couple more, but those were the songs that were put together by management, and they, management's got a big hand in the direction of the Dead Daisies, more so than a lot of other bands that I've been in. Some bands they don't even have managers, but the management team is very strong, and they've got a lot of great ideas. And I think that they wanted to have a product to carry over through this year, because at first we took a hiatus as the original, as the Dead Daisies that was last year, and then through that period, it came up that there were going to be some changes, and then we decided that for sure we were going to do a hiatus. So I think they wanted to have a carryover album, and it's a good fun thing to listen to with all the different versions, and also with different people. You know, like it's got Richard Fortus on it, it's got Dizzy Reed, it's got John Stevens, obviously the lineup with Brian and Marco and John and I and David, and then with Dean as well. So it's cool. It's got a lot of different flavors to it.
Yeah, and a lot of those songs, like you said, are already staples of your live set. So it must have been rather easy to get to the final version of what went into the album, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, we had some of the recordings are from the studio, I believe, and then there are some live recordings that were mixed and are truly live. You know, not fixed up or whatever. And we just went for the best ones we had. I really didn't have anything to do with the production on this or the mixing or anything, but I think it sounds really good, and I like the song choice that they picked.
Yeah, absolutely. And in our previous interview, you mentioned that the Dead Daisies played with everyone in the room playing together. Was that the case with the recording, or not really? Everyone did their part separately.
Was that the case with which part?
With this album right now?
Well, the Locked and Loaded album was mostly that was stuff that was already previously recorded and put together by management and record company. But I'll tell you, this is when we met up with Glenn and started to bang through some ideas. We all got a chance. No matter where the idea came from, we got a chance to put our own stamp on it. And Righteous Days is a great example of the four of us kind of working together on one song, trying to co-write together for the first time. And I think it was super easy.
And going into details of the album tracks, tell us about Evil, for example, Moving Wolf, which is completely deconstructed and turned into this massive song on the album.
Which one are you talking about?
Evil.
Oh, Evil, yes. That's the studio version, I believe, right? Or is that? Yeah. That's a question for maybe somebody else, because I wasn't there at that time. But the version that they do is in classic Daisies fashion. They hopped it up and injected some steroids into it, and Richard Fortus played great on that track, and Dizzy Reed played on that track as well.
We have Fortunate Son by Creedence Clearwater Revival, which I saw you guys perform live last year. Were they a particular influence on you growing up, or not really? Not
really. I mean, I heard, of course, I heard their songs on the radio, but I didn't really have any Creedence records. But I know, for example, John Corabi really loved them, and I think that the main reason. I mean, I love that song. That, by the way, it's a great song. It's great lyrics. But I think John really was the one that was pushing for that song, and they were playing that song before I got in the band. Hadn't really recorded it yet, but when I got in the band, we cut it as a bonus track or as a cover on the album, and then live it kind of even took its own shape again, a little differently. So yeah, man, it's a really cool song. I really love that one.
Yeah. I have a question about the song Rockin' in the Free World. Yes. I noticed there were strings on that version, on the live version. Was that a special show where you had an orchestra with you guys, or not really?
Yes. That's right. We did the show. We did the show in Poland at the Woodstock Freedom and Peace Festival in Poland, and it was about. I think it was about 750,000 people for the whole weekend. Apparently, there were 300,000 or 400,000 that night when we closed the show, and we did it with a 60-piece orchestra that was from I forget the pronunciation of the city in Poland, but it was a Polish orchestra that we worked with, and we had a couple days rehearsal, and we did a whole show with them. It was really fantastic.
I think. And what's the plan now with the new lineup? Are there going to be any tour dates this year, or are you going to focus 100% on the new album with Glenn? Before you go,
I think we're going to just focus on putting together a fresh new record new sound, and obviously with Glenn at the helm, and we're going to just focus on that this year. We'll probably have a release out for springtime.
I see. I'd say, knowing how productive Glenn is, I'd say it won't take too long for you to have enough songs for the album, right?
No, I mean, he's got a million ideas. Glenn can write a song in 5 minutes if he wants to. He's a very talented songwriter, and we also, we have a lot of, between the three of us, David and I have written a bunch of things this summer, and Dean and I write really well together on the spot. I mean, to be honest, the way that Dean plays drums is very lyrical. It really pushes the song in a direction. So, that's a good way for him to contribute to a song. And I'm pleased that that we share in all that stuff together. And it makes it like a real band vibe.
Absolutely, and that's a nice segue to my next question. You mentioned a few months ago that there was a plan to record a new Revolution Saints album. Is that still the plan? Is that still in the cards, or not anymore?
Yeah, there's a Revolution Saints record coming out at some point. I think early next year, so that it doesn't interfere with anything Dead Daisies. I would hate for it to, you have to space these things apart a little bit, because you don't want one thing to take over for another thing. And but the big focus is the Dead Daisies right now. That's the main thing.
Okay. You have to avoid competing against yourself, right?
Well, the thing is that people know that they're probably not going to see Revolution Saints on tour, because we have never toured. And we probably won't, at least in the near future, because Dead Daisies has a full schedule starting in November. So we'll be busy. But it's all about the Daisies.
I see. And when I spoke to you in March, we also discussed a new Burning Ring album at the time, Face the Music.
Yeah.
How did the show to promote the album go?
The Face the Music album turned out really well. It sold really good for what, for the the exposure that the band has. And we got good reviews. Everything was cool. We've just done a handful of shows here and there. Haven't really been able to spend as much time with it as we want to, because it's just everyone's busy, but probably be a few more shows this year.
I see. Well, it sounds like you have a full plate right now, and I remember you mentioned that you wanted to spend more time with your son a few years ago. I do hear in the background. Have you found a house?
Yeah. I'm having fun at home this summer with the kids, man. It's awesome.
That's great. It's great to hear. And I have a more overarching question now. Are you happy with how your career turned out so far? I mean, you worked with Dio, Whitesnake, Glenn Hughes, almost with Kiss at one point, and so many world-class players.
Well, I've been very blessed, and I got great support from people like yourself that have been really good to me. And I love to play guitar, man. It's the best thing. I wake up every day feeling very blessed to make a living from music for my family, and so I think I look forward to what the future holds moving forward with the Dead Daisies and everything else. I'm really excited about what the future has in store.
Very cool. And you mentioned that you play guitar. As soon as you wake up, what does a guy at your level practice on guitar, if at all? Do you still
mostly? Oh yeah. There's always something to learn. I'll see something online, and I'll feel like, well, I want to practice that. I want to try that and learn that, and incorporate it into my sound. But also, when I play guitar every day, it's a lot of times it's picking up the guitar to write, to try and create some new music and trying to create new sounds. Things like that, it's a really, it's a fun thing. It's a fun job.
Right. And I always picture you with a Gibson Les Paul, but I know you played with Jacksons, ESPs, etc. What is your process to pick the appropriate guitar for a song? Do you have something in mind, a method to choose a perfect guitar, or not really?
Well, I mean, I have certain guitars that just feel great in my hands, whether it's a Les Paul or a Tele or whatever it might be, a Strat. But I mean, depending on what kind of sound you want for the song that you're trying to record, sometimes it's a single coil pickup that is more what you're looking for. Sometimes it's a little cleaner amp. I seem to be kind of on things going a little bit cleaner than I was, and but of course, my main guitar is a Gold Top Les Paul. I've got 4 or 5 of them, and there's one in particular that just always speaks to me.
Yeah, that's the one I always picture with you with it. It's the one that's with you on all the pictures that I see, man.
Yeah,
that's your weapon of choice. I would say,
yeah,
right?
That's right. That's right.
Very cool. So summing it up, this year you're going to focus 100% on the Dead Daisies, and there are no tour dates planned for the time being, right?
Well, I had planned to do some touring in Europe with Burning Rain, and unfortunately, it just schedule-wise, there's a lot going on, and I just felt that it was we were getting a lot of offers, but we weren't getting as good of offers as what I would take for us to pull it off. And so I wanted to postpone that for a little bit until we could actually get a proper situation to go for. So at the moment, we're just doing shows in the U.S. Stuff like that.
Okay, man. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm looking forward to the new Dead Daisies next year.
Thank you so much, bro. Thanks for your support, and have a great rest of the summer and rest of your year, and we'll look forward to seeing you.
Thanks, man. Thank you. Okay, folks, that was Doug Aldrich of the Dead Daisies for Sonic Perspective. If you enjoyed this interview, feel free to share it and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We're going to leave you now with the song Fortunate Son from the new Dead Daisies album, Locked and Loaded. Crank it up!